I'll make this. Looks like we got everybody here. Entertain a motion to open the meeting.
I'll second that.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. First thing we're going to start off with is the communication committee policy.
Yes. The last meeting I put forward a draft policy, there were some comments and questions on it. I went back and made those corrections, sent it out to you again to make sure that if you caught anything, you caught it. And this is the policy with the corrections. And this is the charter for the communications committee, and the communications policy that you will replace the newsletter policy that was established previously. This covers all kinds of communications issues, the summary, things like that.
Do these appointees to the committee, will they have to be sworn?
Well, I thought all committee members were sworn in, so we would do that.
If they're official.
And I haven't put a list forward yet, although we do
I
have.
realize that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it, I just wanted to question, because there are some that don't have to be sworn. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
Anybody else got anything?
I found one typo.
Which,
That helps.
Typo,
Michael, where's that?
On the third page.
third page, I have 2 pages.
This is right in the policy?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are members.
Under the legal personnel and election inquiries, C, inquires regarding municipal election and campaign issues should be
D1 rected?
D1 rected.
Good catch.
Anybody got anything else? Mike?
Under media request B,
Hold on. So, right here.
First page.
She's helping me out here.
should I read it to you?
There.
Okay. And, we'll correct that. Thank you.
There was
One other one?
Oh, yeah. There's one other, under B, members should be member.
on that same page.
yep, just above it.
Or another board member. It looks like the S was already stricken out, but it's still there for some reason.
Well, it wasn't in the notes.
Hang on,
Under,
you got that, Dan?
Says the town manager.
B.
Put that in red bars. It looks like it's
Well, I
stricken
did,
out.
I struck it out, but I didn't, for some reason, I didn't accept it.
Sure.
You got something else, Mike?
question, under the next on D, is the town manager the information officer for the town? Or
Yes, I am.
Okay. So it actually should be the information happens to be you. If we had another information officer, that would go to them, that person. Okay.
Anybody else?
Okay.
I guess I'm ready to take a motion on this.
I'll make a motion that we approve, accept and approve the communications policy and the
I'll second that.
charter.
And moved and seconded. Anybody in the audience got anything? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor?
And as a comment on that, I'll bring a list of the current committee and members. We'll be looking for a couple other ones as well.
Okay, we're gonna move on to new business.
Clean that.
You guys are all set. I guess this would be request for a revote on Article 5, Ernie and Kathy. And then.
Yeah, as you know, the history sort of was outlined in the letter that Ernie and Kathy sent, and then I followed up with kind of a summary and then a sequence of events as best we could rebuild them. As a result of that, it provided 4 kinds of things that were available as options. Ernie and Kathy came back with a request that the board put forward warrant article at their own volition. The board has the authority to do that. Because they feel strongly that their freedom of speech was interfered with as a result of the sign removal. The sign was removed in good faith effort, in error, after we remeasured it by our elections clerk, thinking that it was within the 250-foot distance. We subsequently realized it wasn't, and quickly I notified both Ernie and Kathy that we were remeasuring, and we put it up as quickly as we could if we thought it was at the right distance, and it was. But in any case, that's the story. You have all of the information. The request is basically for you to go forward. So, whatever discussion.
Anybody got anything they wanna ask or say,
Yeah, I object to it. I think it'd be establishing precedent. Anytime somebody's dissatisfied with a vote, you just come to us. They have the right perhaps to do that, but we don't have to just go over and do it. There is a process, a couple other things you can do. One of them is to get a petition. You should go out and do that, or go to court. As far as I'm concerned, I think we should just pass by this request.
anybody else on the board?
Was there any legal matters that
I checked with both MMA and then talked to our attorneys. Both indicated, well, yes, it was an error, obvious, because it wasn't beyond the 250 foot, but the town took the mediation action as quickly as they could. And they didn't see that that was a big issue. Nonetheless, it certainly is an issue that, you can weigh what degree you think that period of time had on the election results. That's up to you to decide whether or not, and to the extent that you weigh it heavily, you vote whatever way, and to the extent you don't, you vote another. Obviously, the other action, options for action on the part of Ernie and Kathy are available, and are always available. But this is one that would require your decision.
Anybody else on the board? Anybody in the audience wanna? Ernie?
First off, this wouldn't be setting precedents because I'm Ernie Rice. There was 16 votes that were basically the time frames that were guessed at. There was 16 votes cast. So 9 votes would have changed the outcome of that. So there's 16 votes that are in question that we know, based on Denny's report, that the sign was down. And I guess we had a pretty long conversation with Denny before we came in and voted. And I just want to point out the fact that we were here about 10:15, and we spent quite a lot of time in Denny's office, and we came out and voted. And when we voted, there was 74 votes cast. That was an hour and something after we got here. It was real slow that morning. So the first 2 hours, there's only 16 votes cast. Then all of a sudden, the next hour, there's over 50 some odd votes cast. So I questioned that part of the review. 9 votes would have changed the outcome of the vote on Article 5. I guess you're not looking at just Ernie and Kathy. You're looking at 162 people that voted. That for 2 hours they was cheated out of representation. I'm going to just point out one thing to you. And I don't know how much research Denny has truly done, but we have researched the laws, and we know what our avenues are. A revote is the least expensive way for the town to go. Our rights were violated. And based on Maine Constitution, which we've researched, based on the Constitution of the United States, there are no excuses for that. I don't care what the situation was, there are no excuses for that. So, I'm just gonna give you a heads up. There's two options on this page that are gonna be taken. You can either accept our request because the vote was that close. Everything else in the whole thing was, what was the spread?
Oh, 2-1.
2-1
All the
on everything
articles
else.
except this one
This
passed
was-
by 2-1.
This is 17 votes, 9 votes, and we know for a fact it was 16. And we know for a fact in an hour, apparently there was a lot of votes cast, because when we cast our vote, we looked at the machine, 74 votes. So we are prepared to accept your vote, any way you want to go, and then the town is going to have to be prepared to accept what's coming down the road, because we've already done our research. My advice would be,
I just want to say, all we're requesting is a revote.
so,
We did nothing wrong. We were wronged by the town by taking the sign down. Doing a petition punishes us because then we would have to round up people to help us do the petition. Why is the burden on us? We did nothing wrong at all. And it is illegal to take those signs down. We checked that out as well.
and the other point, 350 feet is a long ways from 250. 350, you can see the orange mark, it's way down by 27. So we was told there was, in our conversation again, it was suggested that the clerk had set a marker out there, but because of the snow, she couldn't see it. Well, there is no marker out there. The snow is gone, there is no marker, there is no stake. And the lamp post out there at the top of the hill is pretty close to the 250. And we was way down by 27. So I just want to point out how drastically this was a very inappropriate thing. And it could very easily have had changed the outcome of that vote. So all we're doing is asking is for do a revote. If that's what the voters want, then that's what the voters want. And you can do it in June. It costs us a little bit of paper. It's all it's going to cost you. That's my thought on it.
Thank you. Emily?
I have to say, I take a little bit of offense to the tone that's being set, that someone took this down, the whole illegal almost makes it sound like it's sort of malicious. I put my own signs up for select board, and I was very careful not to even have any hint of crossing into some sort of a boundary. I didn't even consider the entrance to the town office as being a place where I should be putting it. I went down that way and I went down that way. I made sure that I was outside of the right-of-ways and all of that, because I felt like the entrance to the town office, when it is windy, it is distracting if there's a sign at the bottom. It's causing people not to be paying attention to where they should be. It's kind of a narrow entrance, so in the interest of safety, I wouldn't have put a sign there anyway, and it was distracting when I pulled in because that sign was there. And there were 3 signs right in a row, and it's distracting. I don't think that anything was done maliciously. I don't think that it needs to be blown into something that just seems bigger than, than it really needs to be. The tone to me is just frustrating, and it feels like everybody here tries to work together, and there was nobody that went out there, and quite frankly, I thought the due diligence that was done on the part of Cheryl and Denny and the other folks in the town office to try to create that timeline, I thought, seriously? That is a whole lot of wasted time trying to account for every little minute of everything, like there was even the implication of impropriety. And I felt like that time was taken away from other town business. But it was done, and it was done in a very good faith effort, and it was done to try to show that there was no malicious intent. So I don't feel like it, if somebody wants to take it further and collect petition signatures and put the effort behind that because they feel that strongly that their rights were violated, then all power to you. in the whole scheme of things, I don't feel like it, you know, whether or not the signs were taken down for 2 hours has that dramatic of an increase, you know, and a change in the course of the vote over that number of hours. It was a 12-hour vote for those pieces, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say on the 16 vote count, Ernie, I went and looked at the thing. I told people in the room, the elections clerk, and the other folks who were there, I said, remember this number? And so it was 16 votes, so I know that it may have picked up. I also think that you were in my office about 10:15, I think, and I think we got out of there about 12, thereabouts. So it was right around that time. So you're a little more than that, about an hour and 45 minutes. So, and also I would say that the elections, the town clerk acting as in her role as election clerk, felt that she didn't even know who the sign was put up by. She just took it down because she really felt that it was in the 250-foot distance, and I understand your position on that. And we went out and measured it again today. The orange mark, it was 300 feet. Was that it? And the stick, whatever happened to the stick in the ground, I don't know. I believe it was down around where I just don't know what happened to the stick. That's the snow comes and whatever happens, happens. I didn't go out and look.
It was either the mowing or the plowing.
Yeah.
And it's gone.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Anything you want?
I'd just like to say that I agree with Melanie. I think that the tone of accusation and the fact that it appears, or you would like it to appear, that something malicious was done, I don't think anything malicious was done. I think that it was an error. I think it was a human error, and I think that everything was done to correct it. And I think that, as the lawyer said, there's no way that you can actually know what those votes counted for. You know, there's no way to prove that. And so I'm afraid that if you want to petition for, it's not a punishment, it's just a matter of if you want to revote, and petition for it during the November elections, fine. I don't have any problem with that. I think that's your right. But I also think that it's, I don't think anybody intentionally went out there and ripped down the sign. From everything that I've heard and from all of the voices that I've heard, I don't think that anybody did that intentionally.
Can I make one comment about both of your comments? We never said anyone did anything maliciously. It was an error, and it would be expected that you do have a pretty good idea of what the regulations are. We did our due diligence. We had it measured ahead of time. We checked with Bill Pulsiver to just confirm our understanding of the regulation, and we did it all in good faith. And in good faith, we left it there. And I'm not saying that it was taken down in any malicious way at all. Neither one of us believe that. But it was an error, and it took 2 hours of voting time before it got back up. So I just want you to know, there's nothing, we're not accusing anybody of doing anything intentionally or intentionally violating our rights, but the fact is the sign was taken down. I just want to clear that up.
Barbara Ellen, I would just like to clarify that I was here voting that day at 8:45. I was the only person in here voting for about 10 minutes. Some of the election clerks, someone had just gone on vacation and was talking about the vacation, so I kind of joined in on that. So I was here for 10 minutes. I was the only person. When I drove up at 8:45, the sign was not up. And when I left at 9 o'clock, Denny and Cheryl were taking the sign back. And so I actually turned around and came back up the driveway, took a picture of the sign at 9:02 on March 16th. So it was only down for 1 hour of voting. It was put back up at 9 o'clock. I'd be happy to share that photo.
Yeah, I do have that photo, and I looked at that in the initial contact we had with, I think, and the reason why I discounted that, and I don't mean that you're wrong, it's just I couldn't figure it into the timeline. I called Ernie and Kathy right around 8:45, right after I had learned that it was probably theirs, because we finally got together, Cheryl and I finally got together, she showed me the sign, and I said, oh, I know probably who that was. And so I called and let you guys know, you called back at, I'm trying to remember the time.
A little after 9, wasn't
It
much
was a little after 9, and I had made a call at 8:54 to have the maintenance guy come down with a measurement device, and he didn't come down until after the 9 o'clock. And I'm not saying you're wrong, I couldn't join that all together into the timeline, given the other information that I had. So, Barbara, I meant to actually.
I mean, I have the time on my phone.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
I understand, I
So I'm
just
just
don't
saying
know how
it was-
that fits in.
My experience was that it was down for at least an hour.
Yeah, I hear you, what you're saying, but I just couldn't fit it into the timeline, your picture and then all the other stuff that happened. So I just couldn't fit it into the timeline. That's why I kind of let that out.
Mike?
In my mind, what I think we're really being asked to do here is upset the vote of the town, who's an official vote, set up under the town rules, the state rules. The town did vote, granted it was a close vote, but they did vote to approve the article. I don't believe it should be easy, and I don't think the law thinks it should be easy to upset the vote that, whichever way it went. And I'm sorry if I don't think you should feel you're being punished, because that's not our intent. But I think it would be right to have the petition. The reason for the petition is to show that there are a number of people who agree with you and want to have the vote again. If you do that and you submit it and everything is done properly, then we'll have to have a vote. Failing that, there are legal remedies if you care to go that way. But that to me, probably more so than what I said before about establishing a precedent, is more important. Upsetting the vote, that legal vote that was taken, and that should not be done easily.
Ernie, you know we got a ruling from the MMA, and you know how I am, I don't go with that. I asked Denny to get one from our own attorney to make sure that what had been done, and I think he's got a copy of it here if you want to see. I think that's public information, am I correct?
Oh, yeah.
And it basically said the same thing as the MMA. Yeah, we've got a copy here if you'd like to see it. I just wanted to make sure that everything was legally done, and our lawyer says it was. So from there, I don't know where we go, but you know, I don't take it kindly, you know, and I want to make sure we right, because I knew you were going to do your homework. I want to make sure we did ours. Yes.
Lois Hazlett, could we all hear what the attorney said?
Sure, if you want to. Sure.
I have it on my phone if you want.
We got it right here.
You got it? Let me have it. The blue copy.
All right, good afternoon, Dennis. My colleague Mike Hodgkins is away this week and asked me to review this matter, including the attached materials, and get back to you. As we understand the facts on the
You're going a little too fast.
sorry. As we understand the facts, on the morning of Friday, March 16, 2018, the town clerk believed that a sign posted by former select person Ernest Rice, Mr. Rice, was located within 250 feet of the town meeting polling place in violation of state law. Around 6:55 a.m. on election day, the clerk removed the sign. Between 7 a.m. and roughly 9:50 a.m., town officials, including the town manager, facilities maintenance personnel, and the clerk, determined that the sign was actually just outside of the 250-foot exclusion zone and immediately replaced the sign and notified or informed Mr. Rice. The sign was a political advertisement to vote no on referendum question number 5, which pertain to the appropriation of $20,990 to provide for a full-time librarian and increase the number of hours that the library is open to the public. Referendum question number 5 was approved, 179 votes in favor with 162 votes opposed. It is believed that 16 total votes were cast during the time the sign was down. In an April 10, 2018 letter to the Town Board of Selectpersons, Mr. Wright alleges his right to free speech has been infringed upon, that the removal of the sign could have affected the outcome of the referendum question, and has requested that the board approve a revote on referendum question number 5. By a letter dated March 26, 2018, the town recounted these basic facts for Mr. Rice and informed him of several possible courses of action, including a request to the board that they request a recount of the referendum question, request that the board put the referendum out to vote at the next voting opportunity, submit a petition for a referendum for a revote on the question, or a possible lawsuit. In our view, based on the information that you provided, the removal of the sign was a mistake. It appears to have been made in a good faith attempt to comply with state law and was quickly rectified. The town certainly made an error in temporarily removing the sign, but its immediate response, rectification, and notification to Mr. Rice demonstrate diligence and concern. Whether the sign's temporary removal influenced the outcome of the vote is impossible to determine. Mr. Rice has now requested that the board set a new election and to allow a revote on the article. The board is not legally required to call a town meeting for this purpose. Its decision on the issue may be governed by concerns of whether the removal of the sign affected the outcome of the vote, the town's diligence in responding to the error, the efficacy of the revote on the issue, and whether Mr. Rice is likely to pursue the alternative actions already presented to him. If the board does not wish to call a new election, Mr. Rice could file a citizen petition asking for a town meeting vote on the referendum question.
Basically said the same thing. That's why I did it. I want to make sure.
Well, we know what our options are, so,
Right.
and you know what our options are gonna be, and all I can tell you is, you know, you may think it's whatever. Nothing is directed at anybody. And I'm a taxpayer in this town, and I just know it's less money to do a revote. So, you do what you need to do as a select board, and we're gonna do what we feel we have a right to do based on the Maine Constitution and the US government Constitution. There are no rules or regulations that allow anybody for any reason to take a sign down. Mistake or no mistake, and it was not, we know for a fact, the line is down there, it was 350 feet. That's a long ways from 250. So it really doesn't matter to us how you vote. It would be great if you voted and just did a revote. If you don't, we're gonna leave here disappointed, but it does not matter.
Thank you. Anybody else got anything? Oh, Jenny?
I just want to say that there are reasons why sign, if it's within that 250 foot, the election clerk has the authority, the responsibility to remove the sign. She acted thinking that, and I know that you think that. So I wanted to express my own personal feelings on this. I truly believe in the Constitution. I believe in the freedom of speech, and I've talked to you about this. And I truly believe that I was concerned, very concerned about that sign being removed. That's why I wanted to have the measurement done and all of that. If that measurement would have been within the 250 foot, I even said to you, would you want me to replace it beyond that, right? Because I understood your concern about the issue. So I just want you to know that we take this, the elections clerk, the county clerk, and I believe the board, and I personally take it very, very seriously. I apologize for the fact that it was removed. I believe it was an honest error. There was no intent. In fact, the town clerk didn't even know who had put it up and wasn't really even focused on that. She just was she was trying to protect the validity of the election process. I just wanted to make that clear. And I think you understand that, but I get your point.
Thank you. Anybody else before we I would entertain a motion.
I move that we deny Mr. Rice and Ms. Brown's request.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Then moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? 4, 1 opposed. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to other new business, treasurer's report, please go on.
Okay, well, the treasurer's report is here, it gives the first quarter percentage expended. There are a couple questions that I have on here, and I believe that I had thought Melanie might be back tonight to, so that I could, she could respond to probably the questions that you have. You may want to actually put the full report off until the next meeting, but I did have some questions myself.
All right,
I had some questions
I would
too.
entertain a motion to table this. Do I hear a second? Then moved and seconded, all in favor? 4 and 1 absent. Thank you. Next thing is comprehensive plan
Thank you, Bob.
review committee. Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm just reading you.
Okay, as you know, we have a new select board member, Kathy Wall. Kathy Wall was the chair of the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee. Well, I have not been able to find out if that's a conflicted position. I don't believe it is, but nonetheless, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Has decided to leave as chair and recommends that George Steele be chair, but that's up to that committee to vote. I believe Kathy would like to be designated by the board to be the representative on that committee. Is that fair? Is that what you were asking?
Yes, as Gary Muller was last year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See what?
Everybody see anything? Yes. Do I hear, anybody want to speak on this? We don't have to vote on it, do we?
I just want to say, I understand that you have not been able to find out whether it's a conflicted
I don't believe it's a
position or not.
conflicted position.
My position is that if you are chair of a committee
I get that.
that is responsible to this board,
I get that. I understand. That's where my hesitation comes in.
that's where it gets low.
Yeah.
I think it's only if there's money involved.
Well, there are reasons for conflict. This is not by law a conflicted position. However,
In my heart it is. Okay?
Do you want to wait and see?
no, go ahead.
No. That's fine.
So I guess whatever you guys would like to do, this one.
I'd like you guys to appoint me as
Representative?
representative from the select board to the comprehensive plan.
Okay,
Committee.
somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second? Okay, then moved and second, any discussion on it? Seeing none, all in favor? You can. Looks like 5-0. All right, next thing is road committee charge.
Yes, as you remember, maybe some of you will remember, back in 2008 or 9, we established an advisory group ad hoc as the road committee. It kind of became a committee, but there was no charter other than the original board vote to appoint members to an ad hoc advisory committee, and that was done back in June 17th of 2008 at 7 p.m. at the town office. Nonetheless, I went through and I actually passed it out to the road committee for review, and I developed a charter that kind of provides an outline similar to the other committees. It's still an advisory committee to the road commissioner and to the board, but it kind of provides a little bit more organization to the group. Provides for 7 members, up to 7 members with 3-year staggered terms, appointed by the board after the committee and chair approves, reviews and approves the application. And the meetings are scheduled for the 4th Wednesday of every month unless other things take over. So I passed this through the road committee the other night. They didn't see a problem with the charter, and I'm asking you to approve the charter so that it becomes a regular kind of, other than ad hoc after 10 years, it becomes a regular committee. still an advisor.
I didn't, go ahead.
Is the town manager the chair of the road committee?
The town manager and the road commissioner are members automatically, as it says, and I essentially chair the committee in the sense that I take the minutes and stuff.
Okay, so that was my, under committee structure and appointment of members, where we have under item D, the town manager shall chair the committee.
That's right.
It makes it seem like that's.
I would, if I may make a suggestion,
Go ahead.
I would say that the town manager staffs the committee. You
Well,
know, is the staff for the committee, because that means that you then organize the meetings and take the minutes and that sort of stuff. But you are staff to the select
that's
board.
fine. There's never been a chair, that's why I get kind of, it's always been the town manager doing exactly what Kathy was saying. So if staff is a better word.
Okay, so what I had put in mind was the town manager shall act as chair of the committee and shall ensure the agenda and minutes are done.
I think there was a chair at one time, because I was there.
Well, but it never specified.
No,
because
it did not. Somebody had to take the lead,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
anyway. But I don't have a problem with the town manager. Please.
So should we do the town manager shall act as chair of the committee and shall ensure? Or should we have the town manager shall staff the committee?
Let's put staff the committee.
What does that mean in your mind, the difference? What does staffing the committee mean to you?
Well, I'm just thinking if the town manager is the acting chair and whoever we have as the town manager would be the chair of that, then I would have the town manager shall act as chair of the committee, because then the flow is the same. Versus if we put the word staff out there, we've not identified anyone else as staff to the road
So what
committee.
you say is take the word staff out, make the town manager.
Just say act as chair, it's
Yeah.
fine. I don't have any problem with that.
Okay.
Get rid of those quotations. Cause I was like, is this sort of like, so you'll act as chair?
Well, that's exactly what I intended, was to act as chair, but I thought that was.
Anything else?
You can lead the group.
Act as chair.
Act
Hang
as
on.
chair.
I just had one question, it says that all community members must be full-time residents. I mean, if a seasonal resident wanted to be part of this committee, do we turn them away, or?
Here's my answer to that question, if I may. Most of our committees are primarily
Sure.
full-time town residents,
Mhm.
because they vote.
Sure.
And many people, and committees where there's a lot of kind of money that potentially is being recommended one way or another approaches,
Sure.
they prefer that residents that live here year-round and vote, rather than non-residents having a vote in the town affairs vote. And I think that that's been a long-standing issue in the town, and that's why
There's been a big discussion on that many times.
Yeah, I agree with that, just, on other committees that we've looked at, there's space for
Well, as a
seasonal residents.
communications committee, we allowed for
Yeah.
residents.
I mean, but that's not so much of a taxable question, kind of committee. So I get that, I didn't know if we should include them in some way, or if we're being.
All of these committees are open to anyone that wants to come
Sure.
and provide input.
They're public
That's fine,
meetings.
it's fine with me,
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll make the
Yeah.
motion.
Just for clarification, when the snow plowing contractor comes to the road committee meeting, does he come as a guest or come as a committee member?
He comes as essentially as a guest of the committee is the way I envision, but he's a non-voting person. Obviously, he has a contract with the town, so you wouldn't want him to be able to vote on issues that might impact his contract.
Good, anyway.
I think,
Well, I know, but that's the reason.
I think in the
Well,
past.
so is the road commissioner.
The road commissioner is an official of the town,
I see where you're going.
elected by the town.
You
Elect-
know where I'm going.
Anyways,
I make a motion, we accept this, road committee, charter
with the changes,
with the changes.
thank you. Do I have a second? Moved and seconded? Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. We're gonna move on to budget committee roles and responsibilities.
Right. As I was thinking through well, let me back up. If you remember, as we went through the process of budget development last fall, a number of issues arose, and so I had promised that I would develop a policy or a process for the development of the budget. In my researching that issue, I came across the roles and responsibilities for the budget committee document that was used from 1993 all the way, I don't know how long, but then for whatever reason it was lost. So I took that document, I looked at it, and I updated it, essentially. And you'll see the history and the authority, where it drives its authority. And then I passed it on to the budget committee and to Howard, who's the chair, and he said, I never understood that there was a document. But they looked at it, and I believe the budget committee essentially said that's okay. And they provided some input, but that's okay, and all our inputs included. So that's on the roles and responsibilities. It's essentially a charter, but it's the roles and responsibilities of the budget. And we can move on to the budget development policy unless you want to take care of this first.
I don't think a deal with him.
You want to go selling?
We had a little discussion about all this, but anyway.
How do you guys want to do it? You want to go on the roles and responsibilities first, and then?
Yeah, separate.
Okay, we'll do it separately. Anybody, you got anything they want to
No,
add to this?
I don't. I read it over. I thought it sounded pretty reasonable.
I'll move acceptance of the budget committee role and responsibilities document.
Will I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
I found a typo.
There is a typo in it.
Just send it to me.
Okay.
Is it the name and copy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't quick enough.
I actually had that marked on a copy I had in the other room, and I forgot it, to change it. Well, it's four of us, so.
Kathy, can you take his glasses away from the All right, so moved and seconded, are they going to vote? All in favor? Thank you. All right. Now let's move on to the,
I found a typo in this one.
Send it to me.
Yeah.
Yes, so
Unless
the
it's-
next document is the policy that I drafted, and I sent it through the budget committee, and they essentially had a couple comments. I changed some wording and stuff, and I really am appreciative of that. The one thing that Jack did, Jack is good at this, and I appreciate it. Jack provided, if you look at item 1, the piece of paper in front of you that says item 1 on it, there's 3. This is essentially how this document flows, but it flows it by putting dates down, right? So you can, if you weren't, it makes it easier to understand when things are due and all of that. So I thank Jack for developing that kind of time flow for that. And other than that, it essentially provides for a time frame when specific things are to be done, so that we can move the process of the budget development smoothly forward without having some of the questions about the process that were raised in the last year's budget development process. And I think it answers a lot of the issues that were raised, and hopefully will allow the budget process to move forward quickly. And the intent is to get everything done by the end of the month.
we'll give it a try.
Yeah, that's always.
I thought it looked very nice and very optimistic.
Nicely typed, too.
Nicely typed and very
Is there
optimistic.
any? Are there any others?
Yeah. I found a typo.
Here we go.
That's not just me.
Which, this
It's
individual.
on the second page,
Second page,
Yeah, no,
number 10,
number 10.
yeah.
Notra,
Well, that's,
Oh, yeah.
that's Latin.
Oh, God.
That's Latin.
Yeah,
Notre Dame.
that stands for no.
Okay,
Anybody else have
Thank you so
anything?
much for.
that's it. The rest of it looks great. Love it.
I would, you got something?
I just want to clarify something, or like you to clarify. Number 6 on the first page, town manager must bring any potential controversial warrant articles to the attention of the board. How do you decide what's potential?
Well, I think that the intent of that is for me to kind of look at things that come in and say, this might be something the town select board might want to hear about in advance. So that would be on me. Budget committee could certainly inform me as well. But the intent of that is, for instance, the library issue.
we can hash out at that time.
I could bring that forward and say, you know, this is an issue that might be of interest to you to look at before we go through a budget process. Or wages and benefits. Of course, that's gonna be done in a certain period of time frame. It's gonna be done by the end of August. But the point is, if that were to be something that I thought was controversial, I'd bring it. Obviously, I'm gonna bring it to you, right?
Yes,
But,
you should.
unless it doesn't change. But what I'm saying is, those are the kind of things, I'm trying to provide for an opportunity for me, rather than, you know, putting it forward and saying, well, this, you'll decide on this at the budget meetings. I'm trying to provide an opportunity for any potential questions about it to be answered outside of a budgetary meeting, a formal process.
Yeah.
But
When I did that summary that he passed around, it was not any intent to change any meaning of what was in that policy. It was to provide a simplified
Right.
chronology.
Yeah.
And I think that simplified chronology would be useful to the many people who have to be involved in this, particularly the department heads and their departments. I was hoping that that simplified table could be introduced as a summary table
I'll put that as
in that document. And I wanted to make that point before you voted on it.
Yep.
Just so that it wasn't, for that possibility wasn't foreclosed.
Thank you.
going back to my
I'm sorry.
question,
It's all right. Something like that.
if, does that refer just to budgetary items or any warrant item? Any proposed warrant item?
Well, it would be, in my view, any potentially controversial warrant item. Because they all go in, the warrant kind of develops the budget process, and that's, every question in that warrant is part of that ultimate review by the board. So, yeah, it would include anything.
Okay, so, and then I assume if you neglected to bring it to our attention, we could question it later on in the process.
Absolutely.
And the first time I see the select board on your little summary here, select board is, we can review wage and benefit changes, but there are other budgetary items that we want to review. Why do we wait until September 2nd before we go into this thing?
Because I won't have it done until the end of August.
When we're setting up a committee to do that.
Okay. I guess so, let's see how it works.
Yeah, I mean, those dates may not be.
See how it works.
And the dates, we'll see if the timeframes can be met. We're gonna try our best to meet those timeframes.
I commend you for trying to come up with a good system, because it's not easy.
And I appreciate Jack's help in kind of identifying the need for a simplified thing.
But those dates are intended to be deadlines, not,
Right.
you can't do it beforehand.
Thank you, Jack.
All right, is there anybody else
Fifth select,
got anything they wanna
fifth
add,
select,
Yes,
or sixth select.
I'm sorry, we were having.
another discussion on
I'm
your own?
sorry.
Stop that.
I apologize.
No.
I just, under item number 8, I just clarify understanding that the board will
That'd be preview.
we'll have a preview of the proposed budget. I just missed it.
Clarification.
Nothing too scary.
All right, without any more discussion, I entertain a motion to accept this
I'll make that motion.
with it.
The corrections,
With the incorporation of Jack's.
Yes,
with the corrections of the glaring typo.
okay, I got it.
I would second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, I will entertain a vote. Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is the reappointment of Phil Sprague, Cemetery Committee. And he stopped this afternoon, he was unable to be here. And I would make a motion that we accept this.
I'll second that.
Second.
That didn't take long.
Second, third, fourth, fifth.
Okay, any discussion?
I just like the fact you can read his application so well.
The only thing I've
Some
got
people
is
scribble
his
on it.
references.
The
His references look a little shady to this. But anyway, I'd entertain a vote.
Especially.
Yes.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Thank you. Unanimous. All right, a letter from Maine DOT.
Well, this,
Two main deals.
yeah, at the road committee meeting the other night, and prior to it, Jack brought forward an idea that I think is a good idea, and I thought the road committee went along with it without any objection. He thought it might be a good idea for the town to write a letter to the Commissioner Bernhardt, relevant to recognizing that 8 and 11 is being done, commending them on the fact that it's being done and everything, and also have them recognize that we understood that the state recommends to local towns and stuff that we should maintain those roads in a good fashion. However, that section north of the new section that they're doing is starting to deteriorate, and he's just kind of gently, he was recommending that we gently remind the Commissioner, Bernhardt, that it might be a good idea for them to follow their practices, that, or the practices that they teach to the towns. That is, maybe it would be some gentle maintenance of that road, they might be a good way to protect it for a longer period of time.
Sure.
So this is essentially what it's trying to do, is just kind of tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, you might want to take a look at that section of the road, do some maintenance that may save that road for a longer period of time. And so I put it under my title, it really is the work of Jack and the road committee, and I'm asking whether or not you would like to have me send that forward.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it's a good letter.
I did a motion.
I make the motion, we
Send it.
authorize the letter being sent.
Second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, entertain a vote. All in favor? Thank you.
Question is, there was reference to 25 years, I believe, in the letter.
Was it goes
Eleven was done 25 years ago. Is it in fact that long ago?
No?
Well, that's, Jack, you had a better handle on that than I did.
I thought it was about 10.
Well, it was paved in between.
Well, it's surface.
Surface.
Surfaced in
Probably
between.
pretty near right.
My recollection goes back to about the time that I retired from county fiber, which was 1993. And that's about 25 years.
But they did quite a bit of work when they resurfaced that to
Shoulders and stuff.
take, yeah, and to take care of their low spots and so forth, so, yes,
So we're referencing a rebuild.
that's fine.
Wasn't that done about the same time the section of 27 from the bridge north in Rome was done?
No, it may have been resurfaced, but the section of bridge
Because it was the same contractor that
to
did it.
Rome, it may have been the same, but that was done like 10, 12 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And that's when they dumped 3,000 yards or something into the lake.
Oh, yeah.
Someplace.
Huh?
Warrant. You voted on all set to go.
Oh, okay.
You wanna do this to me?
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Big responsibility.
Oh, my goodness.
You can change that to many years rather than 25. without question.
Whatever you want. I
You don't have a problem.
25 is fine, it's close enough.
This is the first time I've done this, you know?
Is it, Billy?
Yeah.
All right, you know how to do it?
Say warrant 46 and the amount, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Warrant 46, $36,091.19.
Approval.
Been moved and seconded?
I have a question.
I didn't ask for that.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was just curious what, on page 4, at the very bottom, what is field bridge support?
What was the check number?
17002. Image trend?
17002.
No, 17.
17002.
17002, page
On
4,
page 4.
at the very bottom.
Yeah.
170
Give me the inputs.
Image trend incorporated.
$175.
Okay, hold
I
on.
didn't know where it was, but I can't tell you.
170.
Can't remember.
1700, 1701, 1702. Okay, to pay for any permit membership dues, is that membership dues? Yeah,
It does say
Yeah,
something about
That's what it
membership.
says, FD,
membership dues.
RSC
So as a,
membership.
it's fire department related,
Apparently,
It says public safety, yeah.
What's the membership?
bridge support.
What's the membership in?
Well, it's a good question because I didn't know. It says Belgrade Rescue, and then it says invoice number, the invoice term. All it says on this is annual fee for bridge support, and then it has a note on it, okay to pay membership dues.
okay, well,
So I'm sure that, you know, it's a, I can
Why
check
don't
with
you just check with it, send us.
I'll send you a note.
Image
I
trim.
remember it, but I can't remember what it is. Anything else?
that's it.
Melanie?
I had on page 2, what is the warranty on a garden hose that's $143? Cause that's gonna be way better than the ones I
Check
bought
over.
for my house. Check number is 16986.
1696. Okay,
Must be a long hose.
It's gonna be super long.
Okay, this was a
15-year warranty, we need to keep that little thing.
16986, right?
Yeah.
Probably one on a reel. I guess.
Home Depot, energizing.
Rescue department.
That's not what they're fighting fires with.
It's gonna be a lot of dark.
Let me, can I send that to you tomorrow, because this is not clear. It's got a number of things that are rescued in this bill.
I'm sure I saw that twice. Shit, I didn't.
Virtual late.
Tail light.
Well, I think it's because the way it came across, what is it, the attachment is slightly different than this, because I did the same thing, I was like.
So, I will get back to you on that tomorrow, if that's okay with you.
It's fine.
I just can't
We'll
answer
just
the
wait till
question.
tomorrow, vote on it.
We'll catch it 6 o'clock in the morning.
Anybody else got anything?
That's it. Are we voting?
Seeing none, I will entertain a vote.
I,
All in favor, thank you. Moving right along.
can't wait to hear about that hose, so.
I was
I
like,
really wanna hear about that hose.
Yeah.
she's the most expensive hose I've ever bought, I had like a 15-year warranty, I was like, gonna hang on to all that.
I didn't see
Put the
one.
pieces together.
My guess is probably one on a reel. That's,
Yeah, but I've got to check that out, because that doesn't make sense to me. But,
And the 9-volt batteries, I was like, those are both pricey too, how many do we need?
Home Depot,
55.92, what?
yeah, I saw that.
Well, if you get it like a big packet,
they buy by the package, but again,
Anyways, let's move on. Town managers report.
okay. I want to apologize up front for not getting this information to you sooner. It didn't come up, you know, be put on the agenda. There's 2 issues that I'm going to ask you to take action on, but I didn't get it to you in time because it came in afterwards. Monday was a holiday, so we just couldn't.
No excuse, Vic. Let's
Okay.
move on.
So the first one is the Belgrade Lakes Association is doing a water quality survey at Great Pond. And they're asking, and they're applying for a grant to pay for that survey. And they're asking the towns that are involved to essentially send a letter of support. That essentially says we support your survey, and we're aware that this, the lakes are an economic engine for the town and all that. So I wrote that out in a letter saying, and we support your effort. So that's what the letter essentially says. It's number 2 on your.
It's for a grant.
It's for a grant.
Whoever
It's a
the
letter
grant-
of support for a grant.
Mhm.
So,
Fine.
okay, I can send that out. So I'm asking for you, what do you want me to send that?
do we have to vote on it, or do we?
Well, you don't have to.
No, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I think we'll just move on with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it does say on behalf of the board, so maybe the board ought to make a statement.
All right, we'll take a stand now. I'll entertain a motion.
I make the
Approval
motion.
of the letter.
We approve the letter.
So you second?
Second.
Moved in second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Okay.
Thank you. That was easy. What else you got?
Okay, the next thing that should have gotten on the board, it's your third item in the packet. As you know, we requested and the town approved in the warrant money for looking at upgrading our IT system. We put out an RFP, we have 3 responses to that RFP, and the value, the cost of the responses are the 3 people that responded, or companies that responded, Main Technology Group, Capital Computers, and Burgess Technology Systems out of Bath. Now, if you look at this, the monthly cost and the migration costs, the migration cost for Main Technology Group is higher, and I can't explain that other than say that it's the way they set up their building, I guess. But when you look at the monthly cost, it's a lower cost than the other 2, and you essentially make up the difference over 5 months or so between the other 2 costs. If you look at the differences in price per month, and then it's an ongoing thing.
Migration's a
Would you?
one-time,
Well, when we migrate,
but it's a one-time cost.
it's a one-time cost.
Yes.
When you migrate, you're taking everything that's on your current computers relative to the software we're updating and move it over, including the email. So that's the migration. So you have to look at all the emails and all of that and move it back to the car system.
So which one you recommend?
So I'm recommending, now, let me just say one other thing. Main Technology Group is a group that 2 of the 3 principals live in Belgrade, all right? So, or I think 2, maybe 3 of the principals. I know how many principals are. But, I thought, given the cost and all that, given that they have some pretty good background in companies that they work with, smaller companies. They're not a lot of towns, but companies. I thought that would be a good group to go with. So it's a lower cost. They haven't got a lot of experience with towns, but their computer systems. So they do work in small businesses. And so I thought it would be a good one to go with.
Do we have a little more proposals to look at?
You can look at, I could have given you copies of all 3. Capital Computers is the least expensive. There was 2 sheets. And then the other 2 are pretty much the same. And I don't know if you want to look at them.
The question, one of the questions I have is, do we have any experience with any of these people? Like,
None.
who?
Well,
how did we get software to begin with? We didn't have anybody set that up for us originally?
oh, I don't know. We've had people come in before. The current technology group, we sent out, the group that we work with now, we sent it out to them to respond. They didn't respond.
Okay.
And prior to that, we had what's the group called? Snowpond. So it's not, I mean, the fact that you're a town versus not being a town isn't a big issue. I did call up, Burgess has a few towns that they've worked with for a number of years, that they're southern.
Yeah.
So who are the 3 ones that, can you name it?
Well, I can name one of them.
I think that's it.
Yes, no, Burgess. Yeah. And then there's another one that lives, and I can't remember his name. I can't remember.
Do we have recommendations from other organizations that have used these?
I've talked to it's a small group out in Winthrop. It's I think it's a kind of like a private detective group or an investigative group about Burgess, about Main Technology Group. They work, and they're an upcoming group too. You see them advertised all the time. So the Bath has got some good, same way. I mean, I suppose you'd go with anyone, right? And get what we want. The cost tells me that the Main Technology Group is the lower cost one. And they actually really want our business, I assume, for other reasons, but to say that, you know.
Have you interviewed these guys? Oh.
Have I interviewed all? No, I looked at the three.
You just looked at them on paper?
Yeah, I looked at them and reviewed them. Yeah.
on paper, main town?
Yeah, I looked at their RFPs. I mean,
Okay, I see, sure.
I'm not a computer guru.
No. But it's gonna accomplish what
Oh, yeah.
we're looking to
All
accomplish.
of them, with the exception of the questions I have about capital computers, will accomplish what we want to do.
Yeah.
I have questions about it. They say they'll accomplish it, but I have no questions about it.
Now, this is going to involve also the laptops we have?
It'll involve all of the systems that, the computers that we have, including the laptops that you have. We'll upgrade the laptops. We aren't going to, neither of the groups, because we essentially giving the remote, the laptops, Outlook, which is your email accounts and all of that. The cost for the other aspects of Office 365, we were not incorporated into your laptops or anything.
No, that's fine, yeah, just the email.
It's about $6 a month for each one of you, and then $15 if you go to the whole basis. This is a monthly subscription. This gets us out of having to update every year. It's a monthly subscription in Office 365.
So the updates will be automatic?
We get everything automatic. I mean, not all of my staff are getting all of this stuff, because Gary doesn't use email.
Sure.
Spreadsheets and stuff.
Sure.
So he won't be getting it, other folks, so.
I kind of like that one that Denny's recommended, just
Yeah.
because there is a guy in town that's got some interest in it,
Sure.
and I have heard good things about it.
So,
Well, one of the pieces as
Go ahead.
as I'm looking through them, response time, I'm not particularly loving, where there's small service degradation, business process could continue when a user is affected. And the support time would be within 48 hours. What if you're the one who's affected, or yours is the one that's affected, then you
there are priority issues there. I mean, we discussed a lot, I've discussed a lot of this with John, because actually, we got the original, when we were looking at it, I asked him if he could come in and help us out, understand what we're trying to do. So, I'm not trying to give him preferential treatment, but he was the only one I needed to go to and talk to when we sent out the RFPs. So, he's not gonna let us stand for 48 hours if it's a need. It gives you a priority list there.
Yeah, it says if service is not available, so if all users and functions such that are hacked, you have within an hour. Significant degradation of service, a large number of users or businesses' critical functions are affected within 4 hours. Limited degradation of services within 24 hours. If one user is affected, 48 hours. It just seems like, would the town be one of their bigger clients, and if we were one of their bigger clients, then perhaps the town's priority.
I'm not gonna be able to, you could go with virtually either one of these two.
That's what I was just looking at.
This is gonna cost you more.
Something similar. I just know that when working in a doctor's office, that when one computer is affected, that person's ability to maintain what they do is compromised.
Almost, and this is, almost anything that we do, right? If one computer is affected, by and large, what's the issue? Most of them are affected, like with email or spreadsheets and stuff like that, it could be a user error. So those aren't a big deal. I mean, if one person's affected, if I'm affected and I really need to do something, I'll go to another machine. We got the assessor's office, things and stuff like that.
Is there
So
value?
I don't see it's a huge issue, but it's an issue.
Is there value for, say, the top two that you've chosen to come and present to us and let us know what it is that we get for our money?
Well, what we get is everything we asked for, and if you want people to
But
come in and.
the price doesn't change? We just get whatever we ask for, and the price doesn't
What do
change?
you mean? No, we get what we asked for in the RFP,
In their price, yeah.
All right.
I mean, if you've, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, finish up this.
I
No, was just
guess
gonna
my
say,
question.
I don't know how useful it would be for people to come in and kind of say.
I was gonna say that, but
I'm sorry, what did you say, Rick?
I was gonna say the same thing, those guys can come in and talk to us till they're blue in the face. These guys know what they need.
I know what we need, I don't know everything about the systems and stuff. Nick and,
That was my thought.
I'm looking for reliability, that's all.
Well, I would think the guy in town would be pretty reliable.
Well,
Yeah, let's give it a
we're
shot.
gonna with Howard. So,
right, he wasn't,
it's his company, or the company we're with. The point is that if we've had problems in the past, we've gone to somebody else, and we'll just have to do that.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I have a question though.
Go ahead.
You're gonna put us on Outlook, do I gotta have to put Outlook on my phone?
if you wanna receive information on your phone and you don't have Outlook and you can't receive it, then yes.
You can have it transferred to regular.
I'm just saying, I don't know, I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
I'd like.
It'll be easier. It'll be
I have
easier
people
on that
send
phone.
me.
No.
So we can get rid of that other one that's on our phone.
It should be pretty easy on that phone right there.
What else?
Yeah. You'll learn it. It's probably gonna be more friendly too.
I am not the guru on this,
Really?
all right? That's what, it's one of those things where this is not my forte.
Now, how about firewalls?
Oh, yeah, all of that's included, and I expressed backup, we don't do off-site backups, other than Trio, I'm on off-site backups. We do a little backup that we keep in-house, in the vault, once a day.
I take one off-site with me, and one is
Well, that's good that you do it now, because we weren't doing it,
Yeah.
but still, we need,
Thanks.
more backups than that.
Well, and that's what I was wondering, I just recently.
Because I've been concerned about it
Even though
for
you
a
could
long
do
time.
this, but someone actually hijacked my IP address for my modem.
No, this is all,
And by doing so, then they sent an email to my Roadrunner account and answered the email, which gave them access to my computer. And I was like,
There was something on TV about
What?
it tonight, Russians, something.
Russia's doing it?
Yes.
Okay.
no,
Well,
this one was, I don't know, came out of Mexico.
Well, we gotta
and I
get
was
ahead of
like,
that curve.
Yeah. There was something about
I
it.
explicitly asked for a very strong backup, I want state of
I
the
can't
art
believe it was the.
backup and, protection.
Yeah.
All right, any more discussion?
Let's just follow this recommendation.
That's kind of my thought, but I need a motion.
Make the motion, we empower Dennis to choose Maine Technology Group to.
Well, did we draw up a contract and
We'll do it.
review the,
Is that the motion I want to make?
I need to hear a second.
Second.
Please. Second. And
What's the motion? Wait a minute, I didn't hear the clear motion.
Motion to have Dennis go to Maine Technology Group to set up the program.
And
Yes.
we'll bring the contract back.
They probably got a contract,
After I sign it.
they probably got a contract anyway, so they're gonna have it signed, so. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing, do we have money for this? I mean,
We got it approved, but
we got enough?
I certainly hope so.
Well.
I believe we do, yes.
Thank you.
All right. We put it in based on that.
Amen.
Okay. I didn't entertain a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
5, 6. Thank you. Now we get to your stuff. Let's keep moving.
We'll give it a first class.
You're gonna regret it.
Oh, we are? Okay. We can keep it.
No, I use it. It's not like this one.
Okay, really quickly then, on with the other stuff. The ACO resigned, the animal control officer, Catherine Ross resigned. The letter that she gave me, she's been having difficulty over the last 5 months with her husband. So, we're putting on the website, is it today, is it go on today or tomorrow? We'll put on the animal control officer vacancy. And we'll be putting it on MMA and our website, we won't advertise in the paper, it's just.
Facebook.
And, well, we put it on Facebook too. And we have a Facebook site.
She resigned from all of her towns or just us?
Well, I don't know about the other towns, I know that she had left a couple other towns, but I don't know if she's leaving one else. I think she is, because as I understand it, she wants to go on and do something else with her career. So, I have that right here, I can read you the letter.
I don't think you need to.
Okay.
Fine.
It says it was not an easy choice, but I'm thinking about a career change. So,
It'll be a big game.
just to let you know that I have two names that may be available. One is currently working in Rome, so I'll be talking to him as well once we put it up to see
Do
if
we
we
use
use it.
somebody like that? And
She's available until the 25th, and I'll try to work it out with Rome so that we can have something. The other issue is, because Kathy was elected, thank you Kathy, as a select board member, there's a provision in the law that prohibits a Board of Appeals member to be the spouse of a Board of Select Persons member. So Alex resigned from that position. I'm sorry to see him go. I wish I had known that in advance, but I would have still.
I would have kept him and thrown you under the bus.
That's all right.
No, I wasn't.
In any case, he resigned, but he did say he'd help stay on and help.
We're not really married, you know.
Here's an interesting issue that I just want to bring to your attention. I don't know, we don't need a lot of discussion other than say yay or nay, I guess. When I first came back, I looked when we were first doing GA, when I did my first GA case, I looked at the amount of money that was in the emergency fuel fund. It had $1,000. And I said, well, God, they must have spent a lot of money on the emergency fuel fund because there was over 7,000 when I left, and I know people in the town was constantly refreshing. So I asked Melanie to look into the issue and find out what happened with that money. She finally tracked down that on January 1st of 2014, the emergency fuel account had a transfer of $688,634.34. Didn't really, she wasn't able to tell me where it was transferred to. So I looked into it and found out who the auditor was, and identified the auditor, called up the auditor. And the auditor, I asked her, where did that transfer go to and who approved it? And the response I got back was, the documentation that says below Dennis, the documentation I have shows that the emergency fuel account G120200 on the list of accounts to close to unassigned fund balance per the treasurer. So that money went into our surplus. So essentially what I think we need to do, it must have been in there because a lot of that money was donated funds. So I think it'd be only appropriate if we pulled that back out of the surplus and bring it back into the account. So that's what I'm hoping it will allow us to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
I entertain a motion for that right off the bat.
I make a motion, we do that.
Do I have a second?
Yes,
Moving seconded?
we can do that. It's not gonna cause problems for us down the road.
No, I mean, it's in the designated surplus it went into, and that's where it'll come from.
We can pull money in surpluses, I'm saying, without a town vote.
Oh, geez. I will check on that. Good question. Thank you. I just thought it was an error in accounting. I never even thought to ask that question. I just wanted to let you know that that's what I would want to do.
So I don't have a problem with it as long as nobody else has, like the town.
If there's I will let you know if there's
Just check the legal on it.
And, but you can go ahead if it's legal.
All right.
I'll make the motion, we go ahead if it's legal to.
Now, will we check with them on May 1st?
So, well, before we do anything, I'll
Yeah,
try.
I just, I hate.
And I'll second it if it's legal.
All right, any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's a good catch, thanks. That money should have never gone in there.
So that's been in the surplus since 2014?
I question that.
Must be
Yeah.
interest there.
Money we couldn't find.
What,
Do we get the interest on it too?
I'm not going to make it that complicated.
I think just get that money back. and we'll be-
$6,000, the interest will be about 20 cents.
Yeah.
have we, just out of curiosity,
How many years have you been in there?
have we needed
2014.
those funds in the, I mean, like, when you,
No, I mean, you need funds when people need money that
Well,
don't
sure.
qualify for GA. Right?
Yeah, you can't.
I've used some of that money this year.
sure,
My concern wasn't so much that we needed to expend right away.
Yeah.
It's just that
where to
I
go?
just couldn't
Yeah.
identify where it went to.
Sure.
But you
No, it
can't-
makes
And I talked to Mary, who
Yeah.
remembered there being an equivalent amount when she left,
Sure,
or before she left. So I just was trying to identify that because I didn't want donated money to be put into.
That's right. Denny and I had this conversation today, and
You can't put donated money in plus that one.
Sure.
And I know we have that provision that there's leftover monies that was not designated, but that clearly was designated for a purpose and it should have stayed what belonged.
Okay, the next issue is the road committee is currently doing a salt priority analysis. As you know, for the last 5 years, I believe it was, we've been doing salt priority on a stretch of road in southern Belgrade. So we're looking at the effect of that, the value of that, and all of that. And I assume we're going to make a recommendation at some point in time to do something, right? We could, the road committee could advise the board to go salt priority in all roads. They could say, maybe we shouldn't do it anymore at all. Or they might say something in between. So I just wanted to let you know that that is out there and we're studying that. And we're also looking at a potential 3-year program for resurfacing roads. We've talked about an approach to that. So just for your information at that time, I will bring back to the board the recommendation before we implement. And I need to do that once the snowplow contract, so we can move forward with the new snowplow.
The answer is no, we're not redoing West Road again.
When I was last on the board, salt priority roads were gonna be a brine solution.
There is a brine solution that's being used on the trucks.
Okay, because
That's in the time.
twice I've been behind plow trucks in Belgrade this season that had straight salt.
Yeah, well, it sprays out of it, you can't even see it.
Sprays,
Is Rob
there's a
still-
tank that sprays it.
Yeah,
Talk about the crystals.
So is it mixing as it's coming down
Yes.
from
Yeah,
the
it's
truck
being-
and then,
yes.
okay.
I was
Because
in-
my understanding was that there was a
Tank.
brine solution that was put into the liquid tank and then it was, like it is when you see it on I-95.
No. It's just, what they do is they make it wet so when it hits the road, it
Sticks.
stops the bounce and scatter.
They're doing the same thing with the sand too.
Well, that's not actually a brine solution then,
Yeah,
So it's not,
not unless it melts, not unless it dissolves.
right, so it's not the
Well,
brine
salt does.
solution.
The salt, no, it's a solution that they spray. It's on the,
it's on the
I have never
back.
seen the setup. As I understand it, there's a tank on the truck that sprays a mist out to wet the salt as it's being distributed.
And that stuff is so good you can drink it, but the guy wouldn't take a cup and go get one with him. He won't drink it.
Well, I don't know about that, but
I'm
Because
telling
I
you.
thought, I know when I was behind those 2 trucks, I thought, do we not mix?
no, they don't actually mix the salt into the brine.
No.
Okay, well, because I
It is
thought
a-
we were just putting straight salt on, I was thinking what the kaching value was to the town.
Oh, shit.
If there were, these were 2 dump trucks loaded with sand, with salt, and I was like,
heard you.
Speak a little louder there, would you?
Okay,
Where's the, where's the microphone?
okay. I don't know what you heard. What you said.
Now,
So anyhow, we'll be coming back to the board with whatever the road committee determines is most effective. Tomorrow I have a meeting with a group of local towns in RSU 18 and RSU 18 superintendent. I believe he said he was going to come. We'll see. To discuss the grant that I'm trying to get written for the Fund for Efficient Delivery of Local and Regional Services. That's what we're going to meet tomorrow at 10 o'clock. You can come if you want. It's up to you. But we're just going to discuss it. The Katie Cog, Economic Development Director, Karen Tyson will be there. She's essentially going to help me write that grant. So hopefully a lot more writing than I will. But, so I just want to let you know that there's tomorrow. A couple things with the planning board. They denied the Brightside Marina application. And that can go one of 2 places, and they have not yet come in with their appeal. It could be appealed to the Board of Appeals for variance, or they could go back to the planning board and appeal it. So that's where that's at. The real issue that I should make you aware of is if it's denied, well, even if it isn't denied, there is a penalty that may be invoked on that, primarily for failure to get a permit. In operating that for 2 years without the proper permit. If it's denied, there are other penalties that might be imposed that I'll talk to Gary Fuller about. But I've been waiting to see what will happen with the planning board. So.
You said it could be appealed back to the planning board. You mean he could rework his application, go back, resubmit it? Is that what you meant? The planning
What I
board-
understand is they've taken 2 applications. One to appeal to the planning board, it may very well be a rewrite or a resubmission. Because they have to resubmit anyhow before.
Yeah, but appeals go to the appeals board, don't go back to the planning board.
But they could ask for an appeal to the planning board to reconsider their vote.
Okay.
The other issue is that Ben's Auto up on Knowles Road, tomorrow there's a court date that we'll be meeting with Ben's Auto in this district court. Gary Fuller's going to attend. I'm not going to be there. I've got other issues going on. But then we'll see what happens with that. But there will be ultimately a penalty on that, including the cost for legal fees. Okay. And my understanding is that they did submit a more completed, if not fully completed, application today, which would be one of the requirements that I have as a part of the any court settlement. That might be done tomorrow. So, okay, I did not. Just another issue. You asked me last meeting to talk to Mount Vernon City, Mount Vernon, Smithfield, Rome, and Oakland about why they accepted a 30% increase in the square footage for shoreline zoning, increases. I just haven't had a chance. I talked to Rome, but I haven't had a chance to talk to the other folks.
Well, really, what I wanted to know in that was the ones that have instituted it for a longer period of time. What have they found? What are the pros? What are the cons?
That's exactly the answer I got from Rome was we're letting I forget their code enforcement officer, but we're letting him figure it out. Yeah. Marble, yeah. So anyhow, I will follow up on that. It's just I haven't had a chance. Tomorrow, it was supposed to be today, but tomorrow the Belgrade Lakes Village tree removal effort will be ongoing. I've talked to the contractor, but have yet to meet the subcontractor who's going to do the tree removal. Mike had indicated he'd like to see whether or not we get a cookie out of one of the larger trees. I don't know if we get out of the larger tree, that'll weigh a ton, but, or if they're even able to do it. That's the one across from Day's Store. There's a few people that want parts of trees for certain purposes, and I'm trying to find out the subcontractor's name so that they can talk directly to me. I am not going to set up an approach.
If I was you, I wouldn't even go up there.
So, and finally, the committee for Article 18, which is the Center for All Seasons Review maintenance issue, I have, and I haven't talked to everyone here, but I just want to let you know, in case you want me to talk to someone else. I have Ernie Merkins, which I believe Ernie said he would do it. I have Lily Schubert, of course, John Shokin and Travis George, both from the rec committee who volunteered to serve on that. Fred Kohler said that he would be interested in serving on it. Al Feather, representing him. I talked to both Peter and Linda Gagne, and they said they didn't think there was a need. That issue was of more importance to their mother, and they felt that, well, they certainly appreciated the request, the fact that we asked them. They said they felt that leave those positions open to someone else if I want to. Ron McClure, I did not get a chance to talk to him. Do you think that he'd be willing to serve?
I don't know, I haven't asked him.
Okay, well, I mean, you
want me to ask him? I'll ask him.
Yeah, I was gonna, because all I got is a box number. I haven't got anything else on it. I haven't got a phone number.
You want a phone number?
Yeah, if you give me a phone number, I'll call him. Berkling Wett said that he'd be willing to serve. And Gary Foss, of course, and then I'm gonna be just like someone that's there. I won't be voting on it.
Did you approach any of the Alphons?
I did not approach the Alphons because my sense is that they probably would be interested in this. I'm pretty.
I'm thinking as a courtesy, I didn't really expect them to accept, but as a courtesy, since they were one of the bigger donors to that place.
Well, I did. Ernie, is that something you could do?
What if the Alphonse property manager is on the committee?
Yeah.
There you go.
The Alphonse property manager will be a member of the committee.
And he can keep the Alphonse appraised.
But anyhow, those are the names. I think nine are sufficient.
Yeah, but they're not here.
And if you want, I'll just go
We
forward,
can go with you.
move forward, trying to get that committee set up. And if there's any name changes, let me know.
Get out of here.
Okay? That's all I have for an update. I'm sorry it took so long. I'd like to have been out here earlier myself.
I think this is one of the fastest
Oh,
meetings.
no, we've had fast ones.
Really?
We're gonna have fast ones.
That's gonna be.
Anybody got anything, they wanna add to this? Mike?
I do have a question. Realizing that the road is gonna be dug up, Main Street's gonna be dug up, but it's not gonna be dug up till next fall, we're gonna repaint the, at least some of the crosswalks.
I'll be talking to, I'm sure that, the road commissioner is the one that normally takes care of that, so I'll talk to him about that.
Yeah, okay, good, thank you.
Anybody else got anything?
I know you have other on your agenda.
Yes.
We used to have something called public comments, if you wanted to just have, period, it's up to you.
Whatever, other works, but
Other
Okay,
business,
what else?
other businesses, fine, in fact, that's what the manual recommends. Trouble with saying public comments, is it opens it up to public comment.
anybody else got anything?
It's not a public meeting, it's a public meeting, not a public hearing.
No, I get that.
Seeing none.
Nick and I come so you have some public.
Yeah, thank you.
You're the sixth selectman.
Can you, make a call to, Tilcon? Maybe they ought to fill those cross pipes.
That's there's the one up by the
Dane Lane.
Dane Lane.
That one is awful.
I mean, you know what,
I thought-
they've
I meant to
been,
call
I
them,
thought for sure tonight
I meant to
was-
call
was
them
entirely-
today because I got a call yesterday.
they've been driving over it themselves, they know how bad it is. I mean,
It's not Tilcon, it's Pratt's.
but Tilcon's the contractor. I mean, Pike is, they've,
Yeah, I'll get it, I will talk.
Yeah, that one
They're-
in
they're there,
particular
yeah.
is bad. It's
um,
like a 6-inch
seeing
rock.
none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
All things that I have to do tomorrow.
Move to
Just
second.
move to get out of here.
All right, move to second, all in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Kenny, hold on,
Nice job, Mr. Dammer.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
314,
Thank you guys for your participation.
12,
Worked well.